Good evening. We are from Team PBL-RKS102. We are here to presentations about our final project. Final project is one private application with our manager, with our project manager is Mr. Hamdani. Next slide. Before we start, let me introduce ourselves. First, I'm Andika Yahya as the chairman. The second is Abdul Irwansyah as the member. Next is Ridho Hadi Purnomo as the member. Next is Siti Nurjanah as member. Dan Catur Arya Diputra Simanjuntak as member. And Haiqal Febryan as a member. Alright, let's start the presentation. In a table of content, first chapter is project description. Next chapter is program and result. And the last chapter is project completion. Next slide. Definition and method. One type algorithm is one of the cryptographic algorithms that can be used to encrypt data so that the original data can be read by someone who has the encryption key. The OTP was discovered in 1917 by Major Joseph Howard, and it is called OTP because the key is oriented towards the encrypt the message. The key for the OTP must be entirely locked and throughout the message. OTP belongs to the unbreakable cipher. The formal encryption is Diputra match the plaintext plus key and mode by one digit and stamp in or decryption formula. In the decryption formula, plaintext, the minute key and mode by 26. Next slide. This is a flowchart login. In the first of flowchart login, first we open applications. Next, display pic, and next is we input ID and password, and next is the program will authentication the user. If the authentication user fails, it will show the error. If it fails, will enable fake. Next is if the user wants to log out, this is the login flowchart. This flowchart starts from opening the application and then displays the login page and then enters the ID. Then it will be checked whether the user exists or not. So it will continue to the main page, and if not, an error will appear and be asked to enter the user again. Then if you want to exit, it will return to the next slide. This is the register flowchart, starting from clicking the register button on the login page. Then the register page will appear and contain to input ID and pass. Then it will be checked whether it is duplicate or not. So an error will appear and be asked to enter another user. And if not, the new user will enter the database and can log in using the wizard. Next slide. This is the encryption flowchart. First, the plaintext will be requested in the form of keyboard input or file upload. Then the key is requested either from the keyboard input or generate the key automatically. Then the encryption program runs and will be stored in the database. Then the text result is stored in the file. Next slide. This is the encryption flowchart. First, the plaintext will be requested in the form of keyboard input or file upload. Then the key is requested either from the keyboard input or generated automatically. Then the encryption program runs and will be stored in the database. Then the text is stored in the TXT file. This is the log flowchart. First, every time encryption or decryption is executed, some data will be collected and displayed in the history, and also stored in the database in the log table. Alright, for the next part is TT. For TT, please explain the presentation.
Advantages and disadvantages of one-time backup. Perfect secrecy so that cannot be broken without knowing the key. Use if a second communication channel is available that is secure enough to send message and keys. Lack of efficiency in key formation. Model usage is a model in the Python programming language that provides a graphical user interface, or GUI. The name Tkinter comes from TK interface, which refers to the TK graphical toolkit used by this model. Tkinter is part of the Python standard library and is widely used for building GUI applications. Some of the main features of Tkinter involve creating GUI elements, handling events, and managing interface layout. Some common GUI elements that can be created with Tkinter involve windows, buttons, labels, text box, and more. Another model, Hashnik, is a model in Python that provides an interface to various cryptographic hash functions such as MD5, SHA-1, SHA-224, SHA-156, SHA-384, and SHA-512, as well as other hash algorithms. M.Sc is a Python module that provides an interface to communicate with the MySQL server form of Python application. And random is a built-in module in the Python programming language that provides functions to generate random values. GUI program login button. This is the GUI program for login. First, create the window size and title, then create the right rank for login. Create a login label, username, and password. Next, create an entry box for username and password. Next, create a login button to enter the next stage and a register button to go to the register page. Finally, create typing welcome and explanation labels. This is the GUI program for register. First, create the window size and title. Then create the right trail for register. Create a register label, username, and password. Next, create an entry box for username and password. Next, create a register button to enter it into the database and a done button to go to the login page. Finally, create the typing welcome and explanation labels. Next slide.
Part is Daniel explain the presentation.
Okay, thank you. This is a program for the main page. First, create the window size and title. Create the grid layout. Next, create the left syllable and right syllable frames. Create a label the result box, text box, and history on the right syllable. Next, create a thin label on the left syllable. Next, create a table view for encryption and decryption. That create a label frame, text box, and button for encryption. Next slide. Next, create the encryption frames button along with other buttons such open file, generate, encrypt, and save file. Next, create a label and the text box for plain text in the key. The create a label frame, text box, and button for decryption. Next, create a label and a text box for ciphertext and key. Create button for choice key and decrypt, save file, and create button for color schema change and about us and log out button. Finally, create a default set of color schema. Next, encrypt and decrypt program. This is an encrypt program, starting from typing plain text and key data. The process in the form of what and method. And if a failure to true in encrypt result user and key will be set into encrypt table and the text source as usual. Time and action will be sent to the long. Finally, the ciphertext result will be displayed in the result. This is a decrypt program, starting from typing the ciphertext and key data, the process in the form one-time add method, and if the value is the true, the decrypt result user and key will be stored in the decrypt table and data source as user time and action will be sent to the log. Finally, the ciphertext result will be displayed in the result. Next.
All right. The next presentation, Haiqal is wait.
Thank you, Andika. Next, next are some other function. First, there is a function to automatically generate keys. Next, there is a function to combine several words with space into one, and a function display typing effects in the welcome and explanation. Next slide. Here there is a save function to open the file. Then there is a random key function to display the generate key when the generate button is pressed. And finally, the function save to data into the file for encryption and decryption. Next, there is a function to change the appearance of the colors scheme. Then there are about us and logout function, and finally there is a function to run the encryption and decryption program when the button is pressed. Next, implementation result section. Then this is the result of the login display with entry box for username and password. Then there are login and register buttons. Next, this is results of the register display with an entry box for username and passwords. Then there is a register and done button. Next, this is result. This is the results of the encryption and of the encrypt main page display with text box for plain text and key. Then there are open file, generate, encrypt, save file buttons. On the left side, there are about us, appearance, mode, and logout buttons. On the right, there is a display to show the results and history.
All right. For the next presentation is Hadi. For Hadi, please explain the presentation.
This is the results of the main page decrypt display with text box for plain text and key. Then there are buttons, close file, open file, decrypt, save file. The left and right side are the same as before. Next slide. This is the result of a database in the one-time pad cryptography application. Next slide. This is the file results for plain text, ciphertext, and key. Next, we have a project goals in making this program. Firstly, accept input results from either an entry box or a text TXT file. 2. Process the input to be encrypted and decrypted and receives the key input using the one-time pad algorithm. And last, produce a text file or TXT output, decrypt or encrypt result. Next slide. Obstacle and completion. In making this program, we face several obstacles. Firstly, paymix always cannot be called, and then there are problem in CTK message box, and then projects work time that is not maximized, and last, and my scale connector, which is often problematic. And the way we deal with this obstacle is by 1. Clearing cache results, then switch to TK inter message box, and then reorganize the work schedule, And last, restart my skill. Next slide. The logbook result. In the first week, we did PBL training with the title of developing a classic one-time pipe cryptographic application based on the Python language and MySQL database. The design was described in the form of PowerPoint and presented via YouTube team. Next week, we are create a design display for the user interface in the login sections and main page. Then we are create a description function, program, encryption, saving file, and log program. And last, we are create a prototype program from a Python file to connect to MySQL. Next week, we are combining several functions of the program code together into one file. Then we are create a raw user interface as a trial. And last, we are implement the results of the user interface design into Python. And in the next week, we are create for file 3 graphical user interface files along with the required functions and one-time pipe encryption and decryption program function. Then we are fix the attribute requirement in the database table and fixing some programs that are still erroneous in the last week. We are try out the prototype result and see how the program runs as planned. Other constraints need to change some programs like CTK message box to use TK enter message box, and some other program changes. And last, some other program changes. Future work. First, continuing with the next stage of learning, and then implementing this method into web or mobile. And last, apply other methods to be applied.
Nurjanah, can you type poster Mama Hadi Purnomo Fathan and Andika. Type Mian make pen and Arif. That time get from Ridho. Big pen and PT and not the Rifqy white chair there. Documentation and slide. Right. Our presentation for today. And what our member, if he cannot join the presentation because like from the red at Ainda, and right now he has a job to finish. And if there is something new about our presentation, we are guys. And we had this presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.